tools. Tools for understanding our books. This was the first one we practiced. Check that you're getting it. So right here it says reread. If something that you are reading doesn't make sense, we don't want to keep going on because then the story won't make sense altogether. So we need to check as we're reading that it makes sense, and then we can keep on reading our book. What we just practiced at the end of last week was making a movie in our head using the pictures from a story and the words so that we can really picture what's happening and that story just comes to life even more. So we have a new skill today that we're going to be talking about, okay? Today, I want to teach you that to really understand your books, it's important to not only pay attention to the pictures and the actions, but you also want to pay attention to the dialogue. And what the dialogue is the people in the story who are talking. So, who can give me an idea of what that would look like in a story to know that somebody was talking? What could they use in a story to let you know, oh, they're talking in the book. I should really pay attention to what's happening. What are those things called that we can use? Looking for a hand raised. Jose, do you know what they use in a story to help us identify who's talking?
Yeah, names.
They use their names, yep. So they might say, blah, 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 said Ivy. That would help us know, right?
Uh-huh.
What else could they use in the story? I'm looking for another answer from another student. If you have an idea, I want you to raise your hand. Petra, do you have an idea?
Yeah. The 2 marks that you make with your finger.
Like this, right? Those are called quotations. Let's find out while we're reading, Petra, if we find any quotations, okay? All right, so take a look on this picture right here. Petra, you're absolutely right. It says keep track of who's talking. So right here, Jose said they used the name, and you can see the name right here said Zelda, and you see little quotation marks. And then over here, it has the little quotation marks again, and it said Ivy. We can also use these speech bubbles. Remember how we talk about that in our writing unit? We can also use speech bubbles to help us identify who's talking in a story. So I want to pull up our book and see if we can find any. So as I'm reading, I'm going to be looking to see who's raising their hand to tell me who in the story is talking. That's the dialogue of the story. Okay? So as I read, I want you to raise your hand and help me out. We're going to identify who's talking. We were on chapter 2, and we were talking about the time capsule and how they removed their items from the time capsule. So right here, we have chapter 2, and they put their favorite items in there, and then some of them got really, really sad and took their items out. So right here, she's super sad, and she's sitting on the swing, and she wishes that she could play with her doll, and she's super sad that she couldn't have her lucky jewel. So do you notice how I'm saying she and she? We're going to have to use the dialogue in the book to help us identify who is talking. So I'm going to go to the last page we read, and I'm going to read this part. If you see something that helps you identify the dialogue or who's talking in the story, I'm going to be looking for hands raised, okay? The bushes rustled again. Out stepped Zelda. What are you doing? Who notices something on this page? Petra, what did you notice?
Sorry, Miss Prince, I forgot to put my hand down.
Oh, that's okay. Let's see, Nicholas, do you remember these little things right here that we were just talking about?
Yeah.
What are those called?
I don't really remember, but I do remember that you put them on first, the beginning and the last.
Yep, for when somebody's talking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we call those quotation marks. And we use those when people are talking. So if we go back here, we can see they're right here. Do you see those, right? The little quotation marks? We put those around when people are talking. So I'm wondering who is saying this. Okay? What are you doing? The next part says, just checking on Princess Mimi, Ivy admitted. So if Ivy is saying this part, what character is saying this part? Can you raise your hand to tell me? Ivy said this, just checking on Princess Mimi. So who asked Ivy, what are you doing? I want you to look around the quotation marks to see if there's any names over here. Jose, do you know?
Yes, Zelda.
Good job. So Zelda was in the bushes, and Zelda says, what are you doing? Because Ivy was over by the time capsule checking on Princess Mimi. So Ivy says, just checking on Princess Mimi, and then we know who said it because it tells us right here. Ivy admitted. Okay, let's go to the next page and see what's happening. She took a deep breath. Zelda, your lucky jewel is missing. So in the quotation marks, we see the word Zelda. So that means Zelda's not the one talking, because she wouldn't say her own name. So this time, who is saying, Zelda, your lucky jewel is missing? Sophia, can you tell me who said that?
Ivy.
Ivy said this. Zelda, your lucky jewel is missing. So do you guys see that we need to also pay attention to the dialogue of the story? We want to examine what's happening by looking at the pictures and making a movie in our head, but we also need to understand that more than one person is talking in this story. So you can really paint that picture in your head, and you can also create different voices for those characters. So like when I read Piggy and Gerald, I need to make sure I have a different voice for Piggy and a different voice for Gerald, so that that picture in your mind comes to life. All right. Zelda narrowed her eyes. I might have had to borrow it back for my piano recital. Ivy opened the box again. I need to borrow Princess Mimi back too. So they're taking their items back out of the time capsule. Zelda nodded. Let's put in our worm book now. Now that I think of it, I'm sure the children of the future would prefer a good story. So they took out their lucky jewel and the Princess Mimi doll, and they're going to put this book in there instead. Who said this part here? Let's put in our worm book. Now that I think of it, I'm sure the children of the future would prefer a good story. Who said that part? I want you to look around the quotation, everything underlined, and see if you can find any names that's close to it. See if you can find any names. I'm going to call on a student I haven't heard from yet. Bracket, can you tell me who said this quotation right here? Who said all of this?
Zelda. I'm just reading this so I can... Zelda?
Yep. So right here it says Zelda nodded. So she's saying, let's put the book in instead. Who thinks they know why they're going to put the book in instead of their most favorite things? Why would they choose to put the book in instead? Looking for somebody raising their hand. Cadence, why would they put the worm book in instead of their most favorite thing?
Because they didn't want to put away the favorite toys, and they thought the worm book would be better.
Yeah, I think they decided that this doll is too special and the jewel is too special, so they wanted to keep it, and instead they put in a book that they thought other people would like. So as you're reading today, boys and girls, we're going to be checking to see if we can find quotation marks or any pieces around the story that help us identify who is talking. So if we are reading something and it says, blah, 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 said Gerald, we're going to know that that talking part was Gerald talking. Or if it said, Piggy asks, blah, 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 then we know that Piggy is the one talking, and they'll make sure to use quotation marks. In these big chapter books, you will see these a lot. If it is a smaller picture book, they might not use them as much, but they can use different ideas to identify who's talking. Like in the Piggy and Gerald books, they might use just a speech bubble. So you might find something that looks like this, and that's going to help us identify who's talking. Okay? Before we continue, I'm going to have people go in. The pigeon finds a hot dog. And I see automatically, even before I even open the book, there is a speech bubble here, and it's pointing at the duckling. So the duckling is the one saying the pigeon finds a hot dog. Now remember, I had mentioned that in these smaller books, if it's not a chapter book, they might not use quotation marks, but we can identify the talking and the story by the speech bubbles. Okay? Ooh, a hot dog. Yummy, 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 yummy. So who's doing the talking here? Go ahead and raise your hand. Bracket, who's doing the talking?
The pigeon that's blue and just found a hot dog.
Mm-hmm. So this pigeon here
is about to devour it in one bite.
Mm-hmm. So these words over here, flap, 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 are those talking words? Is that what the pigeon is saying?
Nope.
Nope, those are just actions. So that's just the action of the bird, but he's not saying flap, flap, flap. Good job, Bracket. Ah, may I help you? So we still have the pigeon talking, and then we have scooty, scoot, 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 but it's not in a talking bubble, so it's not the dialogue. So we don't have the duckling talking yet.
But there are those little commas.
Oh,
in there.
So these right here?
Yeah.
So those are actually added in the book to make it look like the duckling's moving. So these ones aren't quotation marks. They're actually there to make it look like he's wiggling, like he's moving. So they wrote scooty scoot scoot like he's moving in the book.
Oh.
Yeah, but that was a really good observation. Ooh, here we go. Is that a hot dog? So there's a little line pointing to the duckling. So the duckling is saying this. And look, what do you notice? There's little quotation marks in there. The duckling is saying, "Is that a hot dog?" Pigeon says, "Not a hot dog, my hot dog." Ah! So you can see here, we have a speech bubble. The duckling doesn't have a speech bubble, but we know that that's what the duckling is saying because of the little line right here. It's pointing to the duckling, so the duckling is the one saying that. I have a question. I've never had a hot dog before. What do they taste like? So Cadence, is the pigeon talking at all on these pages?
Nope.
Nope, there's no speech bubbles or little lines for the pigeon, so only the duckling's talking. Nice job. Well, they are a taste sensation. Each morsel is a joy, a celebration in a bun. Do you see the little lines here? Those aren't quotation marks. Those are the movements of the pigeon, making it look like the pigeon's moving around a lot because the pigeon's so excited. All right, Mason, who's doing the talking on these 2 pages? Mason, can you hear me? Nicholas, can you help out Mason? Who's doing the talking on these pages?
The pigeon.
The pigeon. Is the duckling talking?
No.
Nope, no speech bubble for the duckling. If you've never experienced the splendor of a hot dog, you should really ... Wait a second. Look, the speech bubble turned into a speech rectangle. This hot dog is mine. I found it. And then the little duckling says, "Of course, enjoy." Duckling says, "Go ahead." Would you say that it tastes like chicken? Who just said that? Xander, who just said that in the story?
Duckling.
The duckling just said that, yep. And then the pigeon says, "Can you believe this guy?" Duckling says, "What?" "It just tastes like a hot dog, okay?" Okay. Who just said that, Petra? Okay. The duckling, yep. So we've noticed here that the duckling doesn't have a speech bubble, but it's super easy in this book to identify that these words go to the duckling, these words go to the pigeon. Some books don't make it as easy to find out who is saying what, and that's why we have to use those words surrounding the quotation marks, like in Zelda and Ivy when it said, "asked Ivy," or Zelda gasped, and then it said that she was talking. We have to really pay attention to those parts. It's not as obvious in those books as it is in this one. "So, it doesn't taste like chicken then?" He says, "Oh, for Pete's sake." "Hey, I'm a curious bird." That's it! "It's my hot dog, right? Mine. This is unbelievable. Finders keepers is what I say." Oh, look, little quotation marks. And then look, even more. "I'm a curious bird. What does it taste like? Blah, blah, blah." So he is making fun of the duckling. He's pretending to have the duckling's voice. I can't take it anymore. Yeah, right. What am I supposed to do? Duckling says, I think I've got an idea. Oop, and then they split it. Pigeon says, you know, you're pretty smart for a duckling. Duckling says, needs mustard. The end. And then we have a little half-eaten hot dog right here. So, when you guys are reading, I gave lots of different examples of how to identify if somebody is talking. We have speech bubbles. We have these things, which I can't remember what they're called. Who can raise their hand to tell me? I'm going to put all hands down and then call on somebody. What are these called? Let's see. Petra, do you remember?
Quotation marks.
Good job, quotation marks. So if you see those in your book, you know somebody is talking. Then you need to use the outside information to help you decide who is doing the talking.